Hello again. In today's tutorial, we're going to be covering setting up an iSCSI target. iSCSI is a storage network protocol that allows you to take storage from a particular server, also known as an iSCSI target, and offer that storage to computers or servers that will be able to mount that storage and see it and use it just like it would be able to use and see local storage. For the purpose of this demonstration, we're going to be using Openfiler to set up the iSCSI target, which is going to later be used to offer to some servers so that the servers can see and mount that additional storage. For the purpose of this demonstration, I have already set up a virtual machine. I have downloaded the Openfiler ISO, and I have mounted the ISO to the virtual machine. This would be the equivalent in a bare metal machine of downloading the ISO, burning it to disk, sticking it in the drive, and powering on the machine. Openfiler uses the Anaconda installer in order to be able to set up the Openfiler server quickly and easily. Once you insert the disk, it'll go through the boot process, and then you will be presented with the Anaconda installer. In order to navigate through the Anaconda installer, all we have to do is just answer a couple of questions. We're going to hit Next, and then choose US English, in my particular case, for the purpose of this demonstration, as the language, and hit Next again. Now, for this virtual machine, I have two drives that are mounted to the machine. I have a 50 gigabyte drive that's going to be used to host the OS, and then another 100 gigabyte drive that's going to be used to actually contain the storage that we're going to use to offer up to other servers for this example. Here, for the installation, I want to make sure that I do not have both selected, but yet only have the first drive where I actually want Openfiler installed. By selecting both drives, Openfiler will actually spread the installation across both virtual disks, and we don't want that. We want Openfiler completely installed on the primary SDA disk. So once we unselect SDB, we're going to go ahead and then navigate down to the next option and leave the defaults all the same. In the next screen, we've got our network setup. Here, on this particular virtual machine, I have two network interface cards. If you're using this on a bare metal machine, you would also want to make sure that you're using two network interface cards at a minimum. The reason for this is because the interface that you use to access Openfiler versus the interface that you're going to use to actually serve storage should be not only different interfaces, but they should also be on separate VLANs. iSCSI protocol should always be in its own contained subnet, and any server that attaches to the iSCSI storage should also use a separate interface in order to be able to connect to the iSCSI target during the LUN procurement and LUN usage process. Now for this demo, we're going to go ahead and we're going to set up our network interfaces, and the first interface that we're going to set up is going to be the ETH0 interface. The ETH0 interface is going to be the interface that I use for Openfiler web access. This will be the interface to the UI that will allow us to configure Openfiler to actually become an iSCSI target or to use any of the other features that are available within Openfiler. I'm going to navigate over to the Edit button, click on Edit. In the manual configuration dialog, I'm going to specify the IP address and the prefix or the net mask. In this case, the prefix is going to be 24, or the net mask would be 255.255.255.0. I'm also going to disable IPv6 as I don't use it on my internal network. Just to set up both interfaces, I'm going to go ahead and I'm also going to select the ETH1 interface. On ETH1, again, I'm going to hit Edit. I'm going to go down to the manual configuration, and I'm going to pick a different subnet address that I'm going to use to actually serve iSCSI LUNs. So for the IP address, I'm going to choose a different IP address, which is on a completely different subnet, and then the prefix again is going to be 24, and I'm going to disable IPv6. Once that's complete, as you see, I've set the host name already. For your ETH0 interface, which is actually giving access to the UI, there will be a gateway, and that's going to be the gateway that you're going to want to configure in this setting. iSCSI should be a contained subnet, and therefore shouldn't have a gateway. Everything that you're going to use to attach to iSCSI from the initiator client to the iSCSI target server should all be within the same local subnet, and therefore no gateway would be required. Once I have completed all of my IP information, I'm going to again go ahead and click Next. I'm going to choose my time zone, which I'm going to leave at New York, and again hit Next, and then set my root password. Once I've completed all the steps, I'm going to click Next, and then wait for the Openfiler install process to complete. Once my installation is completed, I simply need to just reboot the server. Once the server has completed its reboot process, if we take a look here at the screen, we can see that Openfiler is up and running and that we can now access Openfiler via the web administration graphical user interface using HTTP, the IP that we assigned on port 446. So let's go ahead and take a look at the user interface.